And of course, I acknowledge that we're meeting this evening on the traditional lands and territories of people who lived, learned, worked, stewarded, and enjoyed these lands for thousands of years, and that we offer this acknowledgement in support of reconciliation of our communities. I welcome members of our partner groups, Mr. Ryan Ellis for the Saanich Administrators Association, Mr. Don Peterson for the Saanich Teachers Association. And we may not have anyone joining us from COPAX or from QC, but
I think that was my account.
Oh, sorry.
But if we do, we'll greet them when they arrive.
Well, the door was actually.
The door was all
right.
yes.
All right, thank you. And I want to welcome members of the senior management team who are with us this evening as well. Superintendent Everwin, Secretary Treasurer Reed, who is the star of the meeting tonight. Assistant Superintendent Westhaver, and Assistant Superintendent Pass, who is joining us virtually. Welcome, Mel. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Moved by Trustee Mandel, second by Trustee Hickman. Are there any late items, changes, or proposed revisions to the agenda? All in favor of adoption? Opposed? Motion is carried, and the agenda is adopted as circulated. Item 2 is the discussion on the 25-26 budget. And we'll move first to the report from the Secretary Treasurer. Welcome, Director Hunting. All right.
This is, yeah, you're right on.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'll briefly go over the report that's coming from the Budget Advisory Committee to the board tonight. The Budget Advisory Committee met last Thursday and reviewed the results of the community consultation, which included the community budget meeting, the community survey, and a number of consultation meetings, including meetings with the STA, a number of student voice meetings, and also a meeting with the Saanich School Board. At this meeting, the committee also reviewed a proposal from me with respect to a budget reduction plan. As everyone knows, the budget pressure we are facing is about $1.5 million to steer us back to a sustainable budget. And what I had proposed to back was a two-stage approach where we find reductions that could be implemented for 25-26, and where we had a good understanding of what the implications of those reductions would be. And then a second stage where we come back next fall with further recommendations for reductions in other areas where we feel we need more time to perform analysis and to perform consultation. And so the reductions for 25-26 include service and supply reductions in instruction, district administration, operations and maintenance, and they were outlined in the report from back. It includes eliminating a currently vacant position in the Human Resources Department. And it includes not funding the technology plan, projected inflation in the technology plan. In my document, I also recommended that any further growth in funding from designations for unique needs, that as much of that funding as is possible be directed towards inflation. And in order to accomplish accomplish that, restrict what we would normally deploy in additional staffing for education assistants. I also recommended that at the conclusion of this fiscal year, that to the extent possible, we also restrict budget carry forwards of schools and departments to allow the board to build up the contingency reserve further. And then the areas that we will look at for 26, 27, and that may come later in the fall would be looking for reductions across all functional areas in either staffing or services supplies. So the committee reviewed these recommendations, and there was a lot of discussion around not funding inflationary pressures in the technology plan, because it will mean where we have flexibility to not absorb inflation is really in the number of devices that we're deploying in schools, because we can't lower our investment in network infrastructure, network security, Wi-Fi infrastructure, et cetera. And so where the impact of not funding inflationary pressures in the technology plan will be felt will be in schools with less devices available. And so there was a discussion around that, and then further discussion around that at FF&T, and an acknowledgement that we will need to look at how we align the technology plan with the new budget reality in the month ahead. Committee members also raised concerns over the proposal to restrict the addition of further education assistant positions if our funding for unique designations grows, and it's noted in the meeting notes. And I also noted for the committee that this is not a decision being made now. This we are not proposing any reduction to education assistants, and our deployment of education assistants in 25-26 reflects what we're forecasting in terms of unique needs designations. And if we have growth in unique needs designations, how that growth is deployed in the fall will be a decision of the board in the fall. And so it's not a decision that's being made now. I also confirmed for the committee that if this plan is implemented as proposed, that it would decrease the projected contingency reserve to about 2.2 million, down from it is about 3.3 million for this year. And it would increase the appropriation of accumulated surplus being used to fund continuing expenditures in the budget up to 2.4 million. And so last year that number was $600,000. This year it was $1.5 million. And next year it's projected at $2.4 million. So it's definitely headed in the wrong direction, which is why we're taking this initial step, and then I will come back in the fall for recommendations for 26, 27. So I think I'll leave it there, but I'm happy to answer questions as the board discusses the budget for 25, 26.
All right, thank you, Secretary Treasurer. Trustees, I know that Trustee Hickman has a motion reflecting the Budget Advisory Committee recommendation Mr. Reid has just spoken to, but before we get to that, or any other motion that might be made, there's an opportunity for questions for the Secretary Treasurer on this report, or discussion of the situation. And historically, until recent years, the board has moved into committee of the whole to do that because it's a little more liberal, not so constraining in terms of number of times the trustee might speak or the length of speaking, or like committee. But in recent years, the board has agreed to relax the rules, treat it like a committee discussion. So is there any objection to doing that? Trustee McMurphy.
Not an objection to the question, but would this give our partners the freedom to participate in questions or comments. I can't remember, I think it did.
I think it did, yes. Yes, it did. Thank you, Trustee McCarthy. Mr. Ellis, Mr. Peterson, if anything arises, just give my attention and I'll recognize you. All right, so with that, we aren't formally in committee of the whole, but we are treating it as committee discussion until we get to the motion and perhaps even then. Yes, even then. So are there questions for the Secretary Treasurer or discussion? If not, then Trustee Hickman, I'll invite you, if you choose, to move a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I would be delighted to move a motion. And the motion reads that the 2025 budget be balanced by implementing the following budget changes to offset projected unfunded inflationary pressures. Function 1, instruction, service and supply budget reduction, $100,000. Function 4, district administration, HR department staffing budget reduction, $34,665. Function 4, district administration, service and supply budget reduction, $10,000. Function 5, operations and maintenance, technology plan reduction, $250,000. Function 5, operations and maintenance, service and supply budget reduction, $25,000. The last is increased allocation of accumulated surplus from contingency reserve to $1,086,096.
There a second? Trustee Van Well. Trustee Hickman, you have the right to open this discussion if you choose.
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have anything to add. I think this has been discussed fully through that committee and at our regular board committee day. So thank you. Nothing to add.
Any other questions? Trustee Silver.
Chair. I'm looking at attachment 1 to the budget advisory committee meeting notes. And wondering about the last, I was following the motion right up until the allocation of contingency reserve. And that, I believe,
Can you repeat that?
yes, please.
$1,086,096.
And that's different from attachment 1.
Mr. Reed?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Very observant. So, in attachment 1, at that point in time, when back in the materials, it reflected what we were forecasting in the April forecast for closing accumulated surplus, and then it changed in the May forecast, not by very much, but it changed by about $25,000, and that number is actually updated in attachment 2. So you look at attachment 2, you look at budget changes recommended by BAC for board approval, and at the bottom of the list, there's the $1,086,096, and that is actually the increase. That's not how much accumulated surplus is being allocated in total, but that is the increase in the allocation of accumulated surplus, and it's coming out of the contingency reserve. So down below it shows there's two numbers kind of down below which are informational. So it shows with this decision how much accumulated surplus reserve will be allocated in total to fund continuing expenditures, and it's just over 2.4 million. And then it shows the forecasted contingency reserve, which is just under 2.2 million.
Thank you, Trustee Silver and Mr. Reed. Other comment or questions? Reed? Trustee Van Well. Last opportunity for debate. Sensing you're ready for the vote. I'll put the question, all in favor on the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. That concludes the agenda. Save and accept for, this is an opportunity, I think it appropriate to express our thanks. We've done it before, but we need to do it again to particularly the Secretary Treasurer Reed and to Director Samaglia and to the Finance Department for designing the consultation process, for implementing it, for synthesizing the information and communicating it to the board and to our partners and to the Budget Advisory Committee in such a comprehensive way. And I also wish to express the board's appreciation on behalf of all of us to the Budget Advisory Committee and to Trustee Elder, even though he's not here, for chairing, and to all of our partners who have provided representation to that committee, and to the community and community agencies who have taken an interest in this process and provided us with feedback and consultation, all of which has assisted us in coming to the point that we have tonight. So thank you for that. All right, trustees, is there any Trustee McMurphy?
Are you looking for a motion?
Or yes, sure.
We adjourn.
All right, is there a second for that? Trustee Hickman, all in favor? Opposed? They're carried and we're adjourned.
Yeah, we did that. I'm going to